1970s tour of Britain. Unfortunately, the world of motorsport seemed to think it wasn't a particularly good idea, so very few competitors turned up. Later in the programme, our rally man, Tony Mason, reviews the week's competition and tries to find out whether or not this Phoenix will survive to fly another year. But we start tonight with a road test on a new car that's actually taking part in the Autoglass Tour, the new Škoda Favorit, taking up impossible angles with Škoda master John Howland at the wheel. When Chris Gottlieb took his place, things weren't quite so hectic.
They can tell you the exact date that the first Škoda joke appeared in the national press. Since then, it's all been downhill. The tail that wags the dog used to be a common complaint, but Škoda has achieved tremendous respect on the rally circuits of Europe. Now the sting in the tail, Porsche style, has been moved to the front in the new breed of Škoda, the Favorit. It's Škoda's first front-wheel drive car. Styled by Bertoni, its suspension fine-tuned by Porsche, and its well-proven 1289cc engine further developed by British engineers. The old advertising slogan used to be "Surprising Škoda," and once you get on the move, the Favorit's quite a surprising car too. It doesn't hang about. The engine feels slightly rough, but you've got to confess up these Welsh hills. Once the revs start climbing, the performance is very brisk indeed. Acceleration time is well up to other cars on the road. The gear change, well, that's swift and light. It's a 5-speed box, and there's enough torque low down to pull the car along, even with passengers. These sort of Welsh hairpins are fine for finding out about the handling too. Steering is slightly on the heavy side, and I'd like to see the turning circle a bit tighter. But that said, again, the Favorit does everything that the small 5-door hatchback competition can do for a lot less money. The ride isn't too bad at all. This is quite a bumpy road, and it's absorbing the more obvious potholes and road imperfections. And on these big fat Goodyear tyres, the actual adhesion level is very good indeed. You can throw this little Škoda around to your heart's content, and it's never going to bite you back. From the driver's point of view, the instrument layout is fine. They don't give you a rev counter, but they give you a large clock instead. The pedals are straight in front of the driver, and it's easy to operate them. In the old car, they used to be offset to one side, and after a couple of hours, I used to get a terrible pain in my hips. The switch gear is a little bit far away from the rim of the steering wheel to be completely finger touch operation. One thing I really don't like are these wing mirrors. The remote operation is very sticky and they jerk all over the place, and the actual glass is curved and gives a distorted image. Inside, the Czechoslovakian car has even more surprises. There's plenty of interior space, enough room for a 6-footer behind the 6-foot driver with the seat right back. The seats are trimmed in a very comfortable cloth material, and that's an addition since it was first introduced on the British market in response to initial criticism. The interior is quite well trimmed. These very flimsy door pockets rather stand out, but as long as you don't pull on them to shut the door, you'll get away with it. As you'd expect for a 5-door hatchback, the rear seat folds down, genuine pegboard back to it. But if you want to fold the seats right up to give you unobstructed load space, you've got to feed the rear seat belt buckles through this gap, and that's very fiddly. You can only open the tailgate with the ignition key, which can be a bit inconvenient. Not a huge boot. The spare wheel lives under this thin rubber mat, and that means you've got to unload everything if you get a puncture. But like many East European cars, they give you a comprehensive bulb replacement kit and also a decent tool roll should anything go wrong. The Škoda factory in Czechoslovakia actually owns the UK importing company, and they've got an import centre at King's Lynn where they do quite a lot to the basic Favorit when it comes in. They fit a rear wash wipe system, they fit a sunroof, they fit these mud flaps, and they also do the door cappings and the Philips car stereo. The cars come into this country fitted with decent Goodyear radial tyres and alloy wheels. Those are supplied by King's Lynn, who send them back to Czechoslovakia in the containers that the cars come over in. Under the bonnet, the familiar Škoda engine. Ricardo Engineering down at Shoreham by Sea in Sussex redesigned the combustion chambers for Škoda, and Porsche did a lot of work for them on the engine mountings here. Now, between them, they've done a very good job because there's very little engine transmission noise inside the car. Summing the car up, it's a very nice package indeed. You can judge it against its rivals and take out the money side of things. You can judge it on equal terms, and it stands up very well. So when you add in that amazing sale price of just over £5,000, the car becomes a very attractive alternative to something like a second-hand Fiesta or a second-hand Nova. And judged from that point of view, it makes very good sense indeed. The Favorit has already been out on the rally circuits of Europe, and it's notched up yet more class wins to add to Škoda's already impressive record. One thing this car should do is put an end to the Škoda joke, and that may not be such a bad thing because Škoda dealers have already reported their children being mercilessly teased and bullied at school. If they can crack the depreciation problems of the old model, then this car, on both terms of price and performance, represents a very competitive deal.
Well, if you're encouraged by all that to go out and buy a Favorit, please don't try to emulate John Howger's antics, particularly on the public roads. Now, all the figures suggest we have some of the safe